This is Cutting Down the Nets live from Las Vegas, where we're going to grind it out today. So let's go through what happened yesterday. You saw the bets on BetStamp, but there was no show. There's no show because that's what happens when a 40-year-old tries to stay out till 6 in the morning, which we are not wired to do. So shaky day, and I made some big mistakes. And I'll kind of walk through that as to like what happened and how I'm reacting today, and basically what that will mean for your decisions if you choose to jump on a large volume of games or play it safe. That's completely up to you. Our process is go through the schedule, narrow it down to a pool year to date, 56.7%, and not much action over the last 7 days. So let's get to the schedule. But I want to start with yesterday. So the only comment I made on the plane about Hofstra, William, and Mary was fire the intern that set this line. It was 14 and a half. Ken Pum had 23. I had 24. And we were hoodwinked, lost outright, which is unbelievable. That was absolutely my favorite game of the day. It did not work out. So what happened was I played about 7 games, went 3-4. I had this second tier list that was like, I'm too hungover and tired to make these bets right now. I don't think the lines are going to move, and I'll just make them later. And later kept coming. It was like, man, I don't know. I'm tired. Well, those bets were Cornell covered, and Missouri, Kentucky covered. Um, Miami of Ohio covered. VMI covered. It was a bloodbath of missed opportunity. Very frustrating performance. So you go 3-4, play heavy on those 7 games, thinking you're going to play the others. You never do. And it was basically a batch of like 9-1, 9-2 teams. I did grab Miami and Tennessee late, and luckily Tennessee I grabbed late enough that they were +5, so that was a push. So I don't know. Overall, a fine day for me, but so much human error involved in this, and we'll definitely plan on combating that in March. So let's get to today. That's what really matters. Today, we have quite a few games. So I'll go through what I like, what I don't like. Michigan and Central Florida is a game I thought I would be able to play. I have that game closer to a pick'em, but the line's only 2.5. If we saw some movement there, I'd probably buy back in at 3.5 or 4 points. No play on Abilene Christian, Utah Valley. We get to the Battle of the Dakotas, and I have South Dakota State by 7.5, and the line is 2.5. Now, this is a rivalry game. It's a road game. I think it's a fine spot. South Dakota State's a better team, but they've had some weird rotations lately, which suggests there could be some internal struggles on the team. But South Dakota State is who we think they are. They're going to shoot 3-pointers. They kind of rely on them. But I think there's enough value here that I will attack that. Other game, this is more of a two-tier game, a tier 2 game. I will separate these by the end here. But UC San Diego getting 3 at home against Santa Barbara. We have Fordham and LaSalle. Ken Pom has LaSalle by 1. The line is actually LaSalle -3 at the moment, and I have Fordham winning by 4, so there's plenty of value there for me. A tier 2 bet, Weber and Montana State. Should be a close game. I think Weber's a tad undervalued, but they're similar enough stylistically. Nothing stands out that I will just blindly follow the data on that play. Next game might be my favorite, South Alabama and Texas. Arlington just seems like clear value on South Alabama when you match that game up. So I like that game a fair amount, but I'll probably keep my bet levels consistent. I have Eastern Washington over Portland State by about 3, and currently Portland State's favored by 2.5, so there's nothing wrong with going there. Louisiana Tech Marshall, a bit of a high variance game, but I have Louisiana Tech by 13.5 and am fine going there. St. Joe's and Richmond, something to note here. Ken Pom has Richmond -13. The line's currently 12, and I think it opened even a little lighter than that. So just pay attention to that if you're going to be on the Joe side, because you may get a better number. App State -3 against Louisiana Lafayette. Probably not a bet I make on a normal day, but when you're chasing the missed opportunity in Las Vegas, it will make its way onto the card, as will Utah at Oregon State. Next up is Brown in Maryland. This is a game I like, and it looks like Fats Russell will likely not play for Maryland, although he's a game-time decision. It just seems that's typically how things go, especially with Big Ten play coming up. So if he plays, doesn't play, I don't think it affects the spread like at all, maybe a point. So it's possible people may overreact there. And if you want to back Brown with me, I'd bet it sooner than later on that game. Other ones on the list, FIU -1 at ODU. Not much value here in my line versus the line there. But ODU's weakness is shooting the ball, and this is FIU's strength. So from a matchup perspective, I think ODU can hang with teams when they're struggling to score if the team is more of a sieve defensively, and FIU is not that. So a bit of a rock fight here, and I'd be fine backing FIU in that game. Georgia Southern against Little Rock. Every matchup edge is leaning towards Georgia Southern with one glaring problem, and that's ball security. They will need to protect the ball against Little Rock. Troy and Texas State, there's plenty of risk here. Both teams will force a lot of turnovers. Texas State defense has been awful if they aren't turning you over. However, this is an opponent that they will be able to turn over. Not many threes in this game, so usually I say the high variance games are games where we're shooting a lot of three-pointers. This, I think, is a high variance game just due to the styles of the team, the amount of turnovers each team forces, and the lack of ball security from the guards on both teams. Southeast Missouri State at Murray State. Not a typical play here. I mean, it's a 19-point spread, but I think this game could get fast because of the style that Southeast Missouri State plays and their lack of ball security. So we could get some up and down, which you'll need if you want to lay 19. Oakland and Bob Morris. If you're going to bet this, I'd bet it soon, but this feels like I'm going to get hoodwinked again. Ken Palm's at 15, I'm at 19, and the spread is currently 12. Oakland's being drugged down by awful three-point shooting. You think that will start to turn at some point. So I'll just say this is the game. If you can't make threes against Bob Morris, time to move on. So that is the card. Now let's sum that up, and I'll kind of put this into tiers here. So that top tier, that is the ones I'm playing for sure, no matter what. Like I'm betting those games. The second tier, this is the one that I have to make a decision on because I left out the second tier yesterday and left a lot of money on the table. I'll probably chase it today and get caught. That's kind of how that goes. So that's what I'm looking at. You'll see any play I make on BetStamp user ID CDTN. So for the 40-year-old in Las Vegas running around with a few other couples, it's been a good time. But man, you need to account for when you're going to bet and things like that. And those are some corrections I'll have to make before coming out here in March. For instance, we landed after books had closed due to a flight delay. And so now you're at the mercy of opening lines. And yeah, when you go to bed at 6 a.m., you're not going to get the best lines, that's for sure. So I'll likely be betting earlier on future trips, which is a good thing to do. So what I would recommend, play whatever you want to play today. My card will be much bigger than typical, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Good luck.